Welcome back to Leeds Lately. This is episode 2 of Dream Teams. The first episode got a lot of love with Jer. If you want to check that one out, that is on the channel if you missed it. But today's episode is with Lockie, whose link will be in the description and in the title as well. You'll be able to click that. Lockie does great tactical analysis and plenty of Leeds content for you as well. But Lockie, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. This was tough. Trying to get an 11, but yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
All right, thank you. Yeah, I best do that disclaimer before I forget as well.
Yep.
People still commented, even though I said this at the start, about some of Jer's choices not being the best players. This is all-time favourite Leeds players and not best, so it's specific to the person on the show. So obviously Jer, he won't mind me saying, is a lot older than Lockie, so he has memories of players a bit further back in history. And so, for example, he just picks his favorite players. For example, he would pick somebody like Gary Kelly because he's from Drogheda, where Jer was also from. So there's like a personal connection there, so you get the gist. There's sort of a favorite element to this, not just best. Otherwise, everybody would be picking the same team. And also, as well, this series is inspired by James Alcott's Dream Teams. If you want to go and check that out, he's James Lawrence Alcott, and those videos are great on there. You have people like Emmanuel Petit on, so levels. There's levels to this game, so he's absolutely smashing it. As for me, I'm stuck with Lockie. Wouldn't have it any other way, mate. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Aye.
What formation are you going to be going for with your dream team?
So I was switching between a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1, but I have gone with a 4-2-3-1.
Right. Okay.
Because I wanted to fit 3 players in that could all play wing, but one can play the 10. So
yeah. Well, Jer had the same sort of dilemma with his, and it's quite good, the 4-2-3-1, isn't it? It's obvious why so many people use it in modern football, because you get that defensive stability with your 2 DMs, and then you get 4 attacking players as well. So it's a very, very good formation. Who are you going to go for in goal?
All right, goalkeeper. There's 1 or 2 controversial ones in here. Not terribly controversial, but a bit. I've gone with, and this was hard. It's a hard one for goalkeeper because there's quite a few that I've liked.
Yeah.
But I've gone with Paul Robinson.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I was at the ground when he scored. I was there.
Oh, right. You were, yeah.
Yeah. I was a young lad then, very young, but I remember it just about. I was there when he scored. That was a big memory for me, watching that. And he was always in net for me when I was young. I guess the tail end of when we were good is when I went to go watch, last year.
He was part of that, wasn't he?
And he was part of it. Yeah.
I mean, Jer picked Nigel Martin, so from not too dissimilar of an era. But those two were certainly great goalkeepers, weren't they, in their time? Yeah. And I think Paul Robinson was one of the sort of first Leeds players. We're similar age, aren't we? And he was one of the first Leeds players that I remember as well. And if you've got that memory tied to sort of the first Leeds team that you saw, there's no wonder that you wanted to go for him in goal. Is there anything about his play style that you particularly liked, or was he? I think he was just a very good shot stopper, wasn't he? And
yeah, it was just decent. And I remember his kicking was ridiculous. He could kick it really far, and I'm a little lad sitting behind
that goal.
Yeah, exactly. I was sitting behind the net every time I'm watching it. Just this ball go so far, and for me, that's like, whoa, look at that.
I remember having those memories as a kid, seeing a footballer kick it from the goal way over the halfway line and going, how's he kicked it that far? Yeah. How's that possible?
It's mental, and that's it. Yeah. And that were it. Like, I just remember him. I remember he was like, he was bald. I don't know. It was an iconic image because I used to sit right behind the net, and he was literally in front of me like half the game, and I just used to watch him. So yes,
good memories. You didn't think of Bailey Peacock Farrell or anyone like that?
Unfortunately not. No, they didn't quite make the cut, to be honest.
Yeah. No. Fair enough. Who have you gone for with your right back?
Right. See, this one was difficult. I'm going to say this for everyone, but this one was because the guy I'm going to pick, I remember more. Well, he's still at Leeds. There's a clue. It's Sam Byram. I'll say
okay.
Because I remember when Sam Byram was coming through at Leeds, I was kind of latter end of school, start of college.
Yeah.
So that's when I took football quite serious. So for me, and I played fullback. So at times, so Sam Byram for me was the kind of the model of what I wanted to be like. So watching Sam Byram tear up whatever league we're in at that point, it changed in it, I think. But it was just it inspired me. So I just think, and the fact that he's back now, it feels good. So I put him right back. I know he can play both, but for the sake of the left back, I put him at right back because he can do that. And it'll make sense when I talk about why I've chose these players as well individually. So I think, it had to be Sam Byram for me. To be fair, if we're going on memories as well, prime Luke Ayling's definitely up there. I'm talking promotion season, Luke Ayling's up there. But
it's difficult, isn't it? Because in a few years' time, when Ayling's gone somewhere else and then probably eventually retired, we'll look back on Luke Ayling thinking, oh God, wasn't he good? Wasn't he good? Just locks of flowing hair and celebrating the guitar celebrations and just being a good laugh.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
We'll look back on it so much more fondly, but at the moment, because he's really struggling, it's like almost tainting the memories a little bit. But I know that in a few years' time, it'll sort of be remembered more fondly. But I think with Sam Byram, especially, again, people our age, like you say, when we were sort of like almost starting maybe open age football and stuff like that, playing amateur football, Sam Byram was kind of the guy at fullback, and he was coming through, and you thought, oh, homegrown talent, and you always have a better connection to people who are homegrown. And then obviously him now coming back, like I say, people of our age are going to be like, oh, that's Sam Byram. I remember when he came through, and he was like, we all loved him. Obviously the same for other fans as well, but it's nice to see him back, and he's doing really well as well. So it's easy to be fond of him still.
I remember, he's come back, and the levels are similar, to be honest. You know, a bit more defensive, I guess, but that's whatever in it. But I remember my first college game. I was watching clips of him on YouTube for hours, just to try and get little things, and it's stuff like that sticks with you. You know, not necessarily the best player at right back we've had since I've been born. Obviously, we've got the Champions League era, but the one that resonates with me most because of those kind of memories of
and exactly, and that's exactly what this series is all about your memories of them and your personal connections. It might be someone who's absolutely crap, but you might just have a good memory of them watching them as a kid, and because you're a similar age to me, I imagine there might be a few of them in it.
There is, that's why I'm laughing. Not crap, but compared to Joe's team, there's a few that are a bit you know what I mean? But,
different eras.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so who have you gone for at right centre back?
All right.
Is this the start of it?
I've gone for Patrick Kisnorbo.
Right, okay.
That's the levels right here. No, right. Patrick Kisnorbo, as you're a young lad, watching Patrick Kisnorbo, just a unit, wasn't he? He wasn't scared of anyone. Big tackles, hard tackles. I remember he had the bleeding headband on.
That's the like abiding memory, isn't it? It's the like Terry Butcher style.
Yeah, and I remember
bloody bandage around the head.
Just putting his head anywhere and tackles anywhere. I think he had quite a few injury problems at Leeds, didn't he? But he was captain for a little bit, and I remember that period, and I just really liked him. You know, that tough, hard centre back. It was just brilliant. Look, it's not the levels of some of the other people, but
no, but I get why you would pick somebody like that, because it's kind of like some players like that was sort of a little bit of a shining light in a dark period for the club. And you thought, if that's the thing with Leeds and Leeds fans in general, is as long as you can see that somebody's really trying and really putting it all on the line to play for Leeds, then you can't ask much more of them, because you can forgive them for not having that extra bit of ability, because there's nothing they can do about that as long as they try the hardest. I feel like he was that sort of player, and it was perfectly encapsulated in that image of him on the pitch with bandages around his head, just bleeding and still playing.
That image is brilliant. I love that image. It literally, you look at that image and you think that reminds you of that era. And we weren't always the best team, but at times, you know, especially that period where the club was the ownership was dodgy on it, and his Nobo was just that rock, and it was just solid when he was fit, and he'd just play, and he'd put
Australian, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I thought so, because we didn't have many sort of foreign players at the time. No, it's not that foreign, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not that exotic, but at the time, we didn't really, because we were in League One, so you start to see like most of the clubs, their full teams are pretty much UK based, aren't they? So it's kind of a little bit exotic.
I just loved him. Similar to Sam Byram in that era. Like you said, these are not the best players in Leeds history, but for us growing up, people have to realise
they're the only ones that we could look at.
Exactly. Most of our era was League One to Championship. So it was tough times.
So who are you going for at your left centre back?
Right, I've gone up a slight level here, and I remember him 1 or 2 seasons, but no more than that. But he really resonated with me. Jonathan Woodgate.
Okay, yeah.
I really liked Jonathan Woodgate at Leeds United. I just remember the long hair with the headbanding, just winning headers. He was decent on the ball as well. He could put in
very
a
good defender as well, and
scored loads from corners, didn't he? Just
well, obviously he earned himself a move to Real Madrid, which didn't pan out very well.
No,
but to even get that move to start with, you've got to be a very, very good player. And he certainly was that in the early 2000s era, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was probably the kind of, again, part of that team right at the end of what I remember where it was really good. And he was, I know there was other centre-backs that were equally as brilliant, but I don't know why. I think Woodgate just stuck out for me more. I just remember so many times he'd go up for headers.
Probably when you're a kid, it's probably that you're kind of looking at the defence, and he's the one who's like a bit cool, isn't he? He's the guy with his hair slicked back in a headband, like what you would expect a winger to be like, and then he's winning headers and defending well, and
and that's it for me as well. A lot when you're young, a lot of football is about image, right? You see your favorite footballer with a hairstyle, and you want that hairstyle. You want to be like that footballer, And that's one of the guys coming up in a minute with the hairstyle stuff. But Woodgate was like that. I was never a centre back, but like you said, it was cool as well.
Yeah.
And he was just a cool guy.
I think if you pointed him out in the ground and you didn't know who he was, I think you'd get away with saying he was Italian.
Yeah, probably.
Like he just that was the sort of obviously I'm not comparing, but like Alessandro Nesta, Maldini, players like that at AC Milan, they all had the same like slicked back dark hair, didn't they? Which was like the thing of like a fashionable, really good defender at the time.
He was the British version of it, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was some player, wasn't he, to earn himself that move? And I think didn't he get an own goal and a red card on his debut for Real Madrid, something like that. That's probably one of the worst debuts in history, but I think Leeds fans will remember him fondly.
What a man. Great, man.
So who are you going for at left back?
Right, so this is where it's a bit, is he a left back? Was he a left back? Probably not at that time, but I've gone with a young James Milner at left back.
Okay.
So I was gonna. Where did he when he that first season for Leeds, when he's really young, the first few seasons, he kind of switched position until he kind of solidified centre mid, didn't he? But before that, he did play a lot out wide, left wing, left back, and
he hasn't stopped since, has he? Playing in all positions all over the pitch,
and that's it. He's versatile. He can play anywhere. If you want him to go forward, you can go forward. You want him to drop back, you can do that, and he's got unlimited running. So, I remember young James Milner's a legend, isn't he? In football, his appearances and what he's won is ridiculous. But he started
it's professionalism and commitment, isn't it? And I just wish if we'd have stayed up, I think he would have come back for a swan song at Leeds, and it would have been nice because even if he didn't play every minute of every game, he's a player that's invaluable in a Premier League or in any squad, because he just provides you that level of sort of stability, and he'll go on and do a job. He'll be a 7 out of 10 every week.
Yeah, and he's just. He'd be perfect experience for this team. He would have been brilliant. But we didn't stay up. But what was he, 16 when he scored his debut against Chelsea? Was that his debut?
He was 16, wasn't he? Yeah.
Oh, and what a finish it was as well. I remember that. And as a young lad wanting to be him, you know what I mean? That's like from not from Leeds, but from Yorkshire, and looking at James Milner play, going, I want to be like him, Dad. And watching him score that goal against Chelsea, just thinking, I'm going to be like that. This little spotty kid. And that's it for me. And what he's gone on to do as well in his career, I'm just really happy for him as well. And he's never said bad things about Leeds when he left.
No.
He's always been respectful. He's always said good things. And
just seems like he's a nice bloke as well, to be fair. I think the videos of him, he can take the mick out of himself. He's got a very dry sense of humour with all the boring James Milner stuff.
Good,
like he did that video, didn't he, where he was talking about really boring stuff, like he'd go out into his garden and cut the grass with scissors and stuff, and he was like proper playing into it for, I think it was for an advert or something. But he seems like a nice bloke. But what a player he was as well.
I loved him. I still do. I think he's brilliant, and I would have loved him to come back to Leeds. That'd have been perfect.
Yeah, so would I.
But you never know. If we go up 1 year, maybe.
That was the thing, wasn't it? With the era that we sort of went down, we'd always produced really good academy talent. And then when we went down, we obviously lost people like James Milner because they were such good talents and they weren't going to play in the Championship. And then You've also got people who came through like Fabian Delph and Sam Byram as well. And we lost players because once they get to a good enough level, they can't stay in the championship at a team who's just going to be sitting around 15th the whole time. So it's so unfortunate that these players who've gone on to have fantastic careers, winning titles and stuff, and they couldn't stay at Leeds because we were in the position that we were in at the time. And our academy still was every now and again spitting out a bit of a gem.
It's a shame that, because again, you look at James Milner, Fabian Delph, all these, even Sam Byram to an extent, who went to the Prem, didn't he? Charlie Taylor went to the Prem. All these young lads we had that were just top talents. You can go back further than that, and Alan Smith, I believe, came through the 18s, didn't he? Like, just players like that, like top players. And imagine if we could have kept him for longer, but where we could have been, where we could have been if we didn't have his shoes. Honestly,
I think that's the biggest question Leeds fans ask themselves all the time is what could have been if we'd have just, like, if Joe was mentioning this as well, because the 4 spots that you get for Champions League now, there was only 1 at the time, wasn't there, or was there 2 or something like that? And that was why Leeds missed out on Champions League, because we came 3rd. So so if it had been today's football, none of that would have happened, because we would have got the Champions League money. And even today, you've got the Europa League, and then you've got the Conference League as well. So there's so many positions where you get that bit of extra money. So it's just, everything played against us there, but it was we're the architects of our own downfall.
But through that, I guess you gain different types of legends, that players we've loved to see that we found in League One or the Championship. So
and all those players who brought us back. So who are you going for at your, let's say, right holding midfielder?
So what I've done here is they can, because we've got fullbacks who can, I guess they could cover as well if one goes up. Maybe you could have James Milner can tuck in or something like that. I've gone with, they are holding, but they can also play box to box, and one of them can play a lot higher. I mentioned him just before, and it's Alan Smith. As a midfielder, I know he played at times for Leeds a lot higher than that, but he did. I looked at his career, and a lot of it was played central midfielder. I know he could play for Leeds. He attacked a lot, didn't he? He was very good going forward, but more of that box to box linking.
More of a number 8 than like what Mara sort of role is.
A bit like that.
Defensive. He's a bit more forward thinking if you're relating it to sort of modern day, and he's not exactly expected to go back and make a load of tackles, but.
And when you've got Byram and Milner and excellent defenders, you don't really need that kind of. And the other one I'll talk about in a minute, you don't really need. Smith can have that free roam kind of thing. I know he's a bit controversial because of where he went, but we're talking about my memories, and as a young lad, he was my favourite player for that team.
I think we've kind of got to take that out of the equation to a certain extent. With certain players who maybe went to Scum and things like that, you kind of take out the equation, but there's one who we won't mention that. It's like, it's, you just wouldn't pick them on that, but you can forgive people for going to Scum for the sake of this video, because you're just talking about how they were at Leeds. You're imagining that they never went to Scum, and you've just got that memory of them at Leeds. And he certainly was an amazing player for Leeds.
And that were it. Like, from all them players I mentioned, all that era, that kind of Champions League era before it went downhill, he's my favourite player. My favourite player growing up for Leeds before he left. Genuinely, it was, again, the look, the youth, that blonde spiky hair. I was like, I want that. Give me that.
Trendy. That was trendy at the time, wasn't it?
It was. Used to get blonde highlights to try and be him. Like,
you look back on it now and you're like, bloody hell, what is that?
What wrong with it? But that were it then. And Alan Smith, for me, before he obviously became a traitor, was I loved him. I did. I remember I applied for this program thing where you could write letters to him. Obviously, looking back, it wasn't him. If someone would have done it for him, he wrote me a letter and signed it. And for me, that was everything as a kid. And I've still got it somewhere. My favourite footballer sending me a letter and signing it, and just stuff like that. And just watching him playing football I just loved it. I just thought he had fun. He was aggressive. He could go forward. He could score goals, get assists. His passing was excellent. I just really liked him. He was probably before, obviously, when I was going back to when I was that age, he was by far my favourite player in that team. I loved him. Thought he was brilliant. Shame he betrayed us, but
oh well.
Game's the game, innit? Game's the
Who is the mystery holding midfielder on the left-hand side who's going to provide that extra stability?
So going back a bit of levels here. And Jer's already said him.
I think I know you're going to say, yeah.
Rudolph Austin. And whoever gave him stick in the last video, you didn't watch Rudolph Austin because he was absolutely outstanding.
I think this is the first crossover with Jer's one, so it's the first time I can reuse one of the little graphics.
And it's weird that crossover is Rudolph Austin. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know. In a kind of a bit of a banter era at times we were. And I remember we'd sign loads of players who he came in, and the second I saw his face, I thought, oh, he's good. He just looked, it was massive. It was absolutely massive. I looked at, watching some highlights of him on YouTube when he signed, and I thought, oh, he's just running forward, running past everyone with ball. And I remember what I loved about Rudolph Austin was he always played well against Huddersfield. And everyone, all my mates are Huddersfield fans. He always played well against Huddersfield, and he terrorized them every time.
Yeah.
And he was just, and then Jer mentioned it as well. Imagine him under Bielsa.
Yeah.
Like, as in, he was a few years younger and he had time under Bielsa.
Yeah, yeah.
That is his perfect player, I think.
He was just such a presence in midfield, because I remember really liking him as well. And I remember just like simple things as like when you're a kid and you get a player on FIFA or whatever, and and Rudolph Austin, I always remember liking him. I always just remember him, just being such a tank, such a strong player with such big strides, just running through people, and then the ability to just absolutely leather a football. Anybody who can just absolutely tonk a ball at goal, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that
player. When he hit it, oh my god, absolute screamers. And it was hard, this one, because I was thinking like Johnny Howson, who was a big player during our era. He was excellent. Johnny Howson for many years for Leeds. Bradley Johnson was brilliant for a time. And then you go back to like Lee Bowyer. I don't remember that much of, but I remember it was just excellent. There's a lot of centre mids that have been class, Fabian Delph, for example. But for me, just in terms of that kind of cult hero, that core memories of just showing my friends this absolute unit. I remember showing my friends pictures of him, and they're going, geez, he's good. Rudolph Austin was just, and I just wish he had longer with Leeds. I wish he was a bit younger. Because honestly, if he'd just held on a few more years and been a bit younger, him under Bielsa would have been wow. Imagine that. And I just really liked him. I just wanted to see more of him, and every time he played, I just enjoyed watching him.
I think I compared him to like an EFL Yaya Toure on Jer's episode, just because of the way he was just so strong, tall, bulky, and could just run through. Run through a crowd of players and come out on the other side with the ball, and he didn't even have to particularly do anything to protect it other than just be massive.
Literally, that was it. His legs just went, and he wouldn't turn with it. He just run in a straight line, wouldn't he? Just
like a steam train.
Straight. Yeah, they just couldn't stop him. Yeah, Rudolph Austin for me. And people got to remember as well, our era was bleak. For the most part. So a player like him, who was just a bit of fun and a bit different, it was just really good for us to watch.
Yeah, people who've been miserable with us losing in the Premier League and stuff, me and Lockie are like, we're in the Premier League. I've never seen this before, really.
Honestly, that was the best day of my life. And to be fair, talking about one more I did miss out, and this was close, was Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, I was going to ask, actually.
Calvin Phillips, and to be honest, he could, if I'm doing three in midfield, he'd have been in there. But I just wanted to, I don't know, just a bit of a Rudolph Austin.
Yeah.
Because Calvin Phillips was...
It's more of a modern memory as well, though, isn't it, for Calvin Phillips? Whereas...
Oh, yeah, in 10 years, maybe Calvin will be definitely...
Yeah, Austin's like again, you have stronger connections with players from when you're a kid, don't you? And then like now, I really like players, but then like I kind of found when we got relegated and players started leaving and stuff, I thought I liked those players, but when they left, I was kind of like, I'm not that bothered.
Yeah.
But like...
Whereas... When Rudy Austin left, Alan Smith left Leeds, I cried so much.
When Snodgrass left, I was absolutely gutted. Becchio, like when these players left, it was like heartbreak as a kid, wasn't it? Now you're just like, go on then, get out the door, you turncoat.
Yeah, next one. Who's next? Yeah, he's right. And that's why I probably picked Austin, because of that connection as when I'm younger and just watching him when you're a kid. Well, not a kid, but younger as opposed to now. But yeah, Calvin definitely is kind of put Calvin in brackets next to him, because shout out Calvin, haven't we?
So how do you want to do this then? Because you've got your sort of number 10, and then you've got your wingers / wide attacking midfielders. Who do you want to go for first?
See, my wingers are thinking because they can play either side, and it's hard getting them. They're both technically they're both right wingers, but I put one on the left, so we can go with a winger if you want.
That's fine, because a lot of teams play with inverted wingers anyway, don't they? And it doesn't really matter nowadays what footed they are. And
who shall I go first? So what we'll do, I'll go right first, and I'm going to choose for the right Rafinha.
Ooh.
I think that's the first Bielsa era player, which is ridiculous when you think about it. But Rafinha, and I know we talked about the Calvin thing and how recent it is, but Rafinha was just ridiculous, wasn't he? Let's be honest. Genuinely, I've never seen in a Leeds shirt a player that good. What I've seen,
I just couldn't believe that we got him for 17 million.
Wild.
When he came and just sort of instantly looked just brilliant, and it was like, well, hold on a sec, how is he so good? Like, what's going on? And now obviously he's still doing well for Barcelona and stuff, and he just looks, doesn't he just look at home in a Barcelona shirt as if he always was meant to go there. But yeah, he was just so good, wasn't he? It was kind of something that we weren't really expecting, because he was like a deadline day, not deadline day, but like close to, where it was just suddenly available.
Just happened, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember, you might remember this, like Rafinha used to be decent on like FIFA back in there when it was like 1920.
Yeah, it was at Sporting Lisbon and stuff, wasn't he, before? And then
Brazilian winger who had like 85 potential. And then we signed in, and I'm going, oh my God. And the biggest regret for Rafinha is, again, we didn't stay up.
Yeah.
Because that first year, you know, he stayed the second year and he wanted Leeds to do better. But we didn't. We let him down. And I imagine he'd be at Barcelona still, because that was his dream, wasn't it? But we could get another season out of him of just tearing the Premier League up. That's what he did.
But the thing is, it's sad as well, because he was such a massive part in keeping us up. The season where we stayed up by the skin of our teeth away at Brentford. He was such a massive part of that, and him going in the crowd and swinging his shirt around and going mad. It was like, what a lovely moment for him, because we all kind of knew that he would be sold because he's worth so much money. And we kind of accepted that and thought, thank you. You've been unreal. Thank you for saving us, whatever. He's gone to Barcelona, and I think he'll have had an eye on Leeds. And when they got relegated, he'll have thought, God, I like we stayed up and we had that moment and we kept Leeds up, and now they've gone and got relegated anyway, so it was all for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of gutting, that, isn't it?
It is. And again, that's down to the decisions that the club made, wasn't it? And not getting the best out of a player like that, because I still believe like there was so much more. It was so longer we could have had with Rafinha, and so much more memories. But for a guy that was here literally 2 years, the fact that he's in here and I only watched it for 2 years shows how good he was. And he literally, like, when we needed something, he was it. And he
replaced that sort of Pablo factor in the team, didn't he?
He did,
because he was like, oh, we need someone to come up with something. He'll just cut inside and curl one in the top corner, and you just go, all right, yeah, nice one, thanks.
I'll meg 3 players and put Gale on his backside with a back heel Megs or whatever he did. That was ridiculous, by the way. And I think it's rare, especially us growing up in League One Championship, having a player like that that should not be at Leeds, from what we remember, is wild. And I don't think we'll see that.
But it's even just like signing it. I mean, you remember how excited you were when we signed Adrian because he was Brazilian, and then we thought, oh, we've got the only crap Brazilian footballer.
Honestly, when we signed Adrian, again, I remember him back then. I remember from FIFA. I'm like, oh, this guy's got like 83 potentials.
He's got 5-star skills or something like that. Yeah,
he's rubbish. He was absolutely rubbish.
Yeah,
so a few of them as well. Jean-Kevin Augustin as well. I remember when we signed him, I was like, oh, he used to be really good.
But that wasn't even just like that was touted by a lot of people. Like, he was in the same youth team as Mbappe, but outscored him at youth championships for France and stuff. And Rafinha came in and lived up to being a Brazilian footballer, and he had the skills, but the thing is, he had the end product. And a lot of players who come in and it's like, even Anthony, can you believe that he was bought by Man United for 100 million, and he's got these skills that he's barely even good at, and he's got no end product. And we got Rafinha for 17 million. He had skills, he had flair, he had pace, and he had the ability to put the ball in the back of the net like a lot of times in a season. Yeah, so
he was ridiculous. We could talk about him all day. He was genuinely, I'm not saying world class, but for us, he felt like that. It felt like we had.
It depends what you call him world class, because some people would say that only like, say, De Bruyne, Haaland. I can only
put
think
it this
of
way,
City
right?
players now. But
that season for us for Leeds, he could have fit in any team in the Premier. He was that good. I genuinely believe that. I think he was ridiculous. He was. Him and Bielsa combination was a joke. It was a joke. Yeah, I love him. What a player.
Okay, so you want to go left or you want to go the number 10?
We'll do left first.
Right.
So this guy is probably, he is more of a right winger. That's what he did. He liked to cut in. But because he had such a good left foot, he could probably just stick him on the left and he'd do the same thing. And it's Robert Snodgrass.
Robert Snodgrass.
I love Robert Snodgrass. Yeah. And this is it. So our era here is Robert Snodgrass, whereas the new guys have Rafinha. This is kind of what we had. And Snodgrass was, honestly, back in the day, geez, we're not that old, but back then, you know what I mean? We're not that old, but Robert Snodgrass.
Back in my day,
Robert Snodgrass was genuinely our Rafinha.
Yeah.
How many times in games did you rely on him to cut inside?
He was a shining light, wasn't he? I mean, I think
put a cross in or one in top corner.
When I've heard Phil Hay talk about him, he said that the kind of abiding memory that he had was that if Leeds couldn't figure out how to beat an opponent, it was literally just give the ball to Snodgrass and hope he'll do something.
It genuinely was. That was it. It was just, and he was there for a while. I can't remember how many years he was at Leeds, but he was at Leeds a long time, and he'd just do it week in, week out for years. Just constantly excellent delivery, his left foot when he cut inside.
His ability to whip a ball in the box was very, very good as well, wasn't
it? He was honestly like what we had back then. He was that constant player that we're always like, why is he still here? You know, he could go up higher, but he just stayed at Leeds all the time and he was excellent every year. And I just, that, and again, being left footed and being a winger when I was younger, before I lost pace and came a fullback. Robert Snodgrass was, again, that kind of a guy I'd watch and be like, I want to be like him. I want a left foot like that guy. And it's those memories that stick by you, and just some of the free kicks he scored, some of the crosses he put in, some of the absolute world-class goals he'd put into the top corner. And it's got to be in there, especially from League One Championship days. He was the man for us.
Yeah, I remember being at school and idolising Robert Snodgrass and just thinking he was the bee's knees, and just like, just
all your mates support like these big teams who are talking about these best players and we're about Robert.
That is exactly my memory as well, because I'm not even from Yorkshire or anywhere really near. And also all my mates were Liverpool fans, Man United fans, Arsenal fans, just all over really. And I just remember being like, I don't really have anybody to celebrate apart from, it was like Becchio and Snodgrass as well. Were just I was just those two players.
The one guy who was really close was Max Gradle as well.
Right.
I just, apart from the time he got sent off, and I was there, and I remember, and I was really scared because I don't know why. I just got really scared when he got sent off because he was really angry, and I was quite young. I didn't like it. All the crowd were booing. It was too loud for me. I was scared.
He's a tiny fella, isn't he?
Yeah, he was angry that he was trying to start the ref. I remember. But Max Gradle, I love Max Gradle for Leeds. Again,
he's done all right for himself, hasn't he? He's got a good career in Ligue 1 with is it Saint Etienne that he's been playing for?
Yeah, he's done well for himself. So he was definitely an honourable mention, just because, again, I enjoyed the way he played. He was a fun player, and he's really good for us, to be honest.
Yeah. So then, this number 10, I think I know who you're going to go for, but tell us.
I think you do, though, and it begins with a P, and it's called Pablo Hernandez.
Yeah. Thought so.
Is there... And it's funny, we just spoke about Snodgrass, but is there anyone better taking away the Premier League team than Pablo Hernandez in our lifetime? I don't think there is.
Probably not, no. Just
I say in our lifetime, from what we remember.
Yeah. Because I honestly, I remember a lot less than you about the early 2000s and stuff. Like, my first sort of memories of Leeds are like Rob Hulse, David Healy, when we sort of first got relegated, and
League One days,
yeah.
Yeah, I was literally like a season or two before, maybe not too much, but yeah, Pablo Hernandez. When he arrived, I remember thinking, I remember when I was really young, this lad at Swansea, and it was him. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty good, and that was an understatement.
Well, I think he outperformed his Swansea days massively,
Yeah.
but when he played for Leeds, and it's strange because a lot of them were in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But Joe said as well, it's the one thing we can thank Gary Monk for, because I don't think that Pablo would have come to Leeds if Gary Monk hadn't have got him in, because obviously he was mates with him, and he'd done that Qatar thing before it was fashionable, hadn't he? He was out playing in Qatar and managed to come back to English football. And he honestly, the amount of times he just came up with something in a vital moment, you were just like,
genuinely, in my kind of, from what I remember, I imagine it's the same for you, Max. Who, and I don't like using this word, but who was a more clutch player than Pablo Hernandez?
There isn't
genuinely, there isn't, is there? Apart from maybe a season where Rafinha did everything, but in terms of championship, who was? Pablo Hernandez is, and I just imagine we got him at 26, 27.
Yeah, under Bielsa. It'd have to be under Bielsa, and it'd have to be at that age.
Oh my God, that him and Rudy Austin were a bit younger. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah,
but literally, and he's got the nickname because he deserves the nickname. He's a magician. He was a magician. I know Joe said all this, so I won't repeat everything he said, but he could literally nutmeg a mermaid. He could, the passing, just the way he'd pass the ball, it was so calm and relaxed.
It was often it was like someone would play it into his feet, and where a normal human being would just pop the ball back into the player who played it to him or somebody else, he would often just hit it first time around the corner over the top.
I know which one you're thinking about, where he dropped into CDM, they give it him, and he's not even looking, and he just goes straight over the left back's head to whoever. I can't remember.
He did it multiple times, didn't he? Where any normal person would have just passed it back, but he just whacked it. It wasn't even whacked it; it was a cultured, sort of curved pass over the top. Ridiculous. And just goes straight to the players. Was it the one where Harrison ended up in the stands?
Yes, that was it.
And he was stood with all the cardboard cutouts of the fans because it was in COVID.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was against, but yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
And do you know what defined Pablo for me? Well, like when a player's really good, when he does something, you laugh.
Yeah. It's like, you can't believe that he's just done that again.
And that'd be 10 times a game. And
yeah,
it's wild to me that we had a player that good, and I'm glad that he was that age, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't have stayed around for very long. But magic, probably one of my favorite Leeds players of all time. Definitely,
I've got a print of him on my wall right there that I can see in my office. That is from the Swansea goal that Ayling broke down the left, and just I always say this, but if he'd have put the ball anywhere else, it doesn't go in. There's only probably 2 balls width that he could have possibly put that in, and it would have still gone in. And he put it there, and it's just like you say. I know it's like quite, I don't know what the word is, but to say like clutch, but it kind of is, isn't it? And that's he comes up with the goods exactly when you need him.
That goal, was it against? Was it Bristol? First game of the season, where he just hits one top corner, I think.
I think there was one against Bristol.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, all right, Pab's still all right then. Age isn't a worry. This, and he just did it the one against West Brom, where again he just hits it top corner, and the way
and that was like 20
he didn't need a
seconds
run up. Yeah, he didn't need a run up. He just stand there, kick it side foot, and it go top corner. And you're thinking, how are you doing that? What a player, magic. He genuinely was
absolutely
magic.
Class. So that leaves us then with the number 9.
The number 9, right?
We have actually got a few good ones to choose from, really. There's also some terrible ones, but who have you gone for?
Again, you mentioned David Healy, who scored a lot of goals for Leeds. He's up there for me. Mark Viduka, but I only got to really see one good season of Mark Viduka before, obviously it went bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put him in it just for that reason, but he was outstanding. And it's between 2. It was between Becchio and Beckford.
Right.
I've gone, I've gone with Becchio, sorry.
Right.
I've gone with Becchio. Only reason being he's from Argentina, and we signed an Argentinian striker.
We've literally, are we just the same person? Because we've just got the same memories, and we're just like, I remember at the time being like, oh, we've signed an Argentinian man. Oh, he might know Messi.
Literally, why have we signed an? Didn't you play for Barcelona as well? when he was young?
I don't know. He had he only got in at Leeds because he had a trial, didn't he? Whilst they were over in Ireland.
Wild. And like we talked about again that word clutch, but how many goals did he score for Leeds that just meant something? It wasn't when we were 3-0 up. He didn't get a fourth. He'd score the first two.
Yeah.
You know, the playoff goal against Millwall. Is it Millwall?
Becchio,
so, that header, that little header, I think. My memory's terrible. Just so many goals, and just this guy from Argentina, and he couldn't be less Argentinian.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because he wasn't really like, there was no sort of flair. It was just sort of get the job done. But actually, do you know what? I've thought about this recently, and when Argentina were playing in the World Cup, even though Argentina and Brazil are neighboring countries, and you always think of Brazil as having the flair, and you think of that generally as sort of South American players, but when you actually look at a team like Argentina, they tend to have very solid, good players who are pretty like, I don't know, a Mascherano or players like that. They were brilliant, but they were very sort of defensive and weren't flair players, shall we say. And they always had one who was the sort of standout flair player, and obviously Messi, and then before that Riquelme and Pablo Aimar and players like that. But Becchio almost does kind of fit in with what some of the other Argentinian players have been. They're sort of like utility players, and they're just very good at what they do. But yeah, you'd kind of expect him to be called Luke Beck or something like that.
Yeah, Luke Beck.
Yeah, he was almost quite English in his centre forward play.
And I think we were one thing we had. I know it was all terrible, but one thing we did have was good strikers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like you mentioned, David Healy. Then we had Becchio, Beckford, Chris Wood after that.
Yeah,
bags loads of goals.
He scored 30 goals, didn't he, in a season where we came 13th or something like that?
Mental. Like we always had decent strikers. So, but for me, just again growing up in that era, again the headband, the way he was, the fact he's Argentinian. Becchio was it? He was the man.
Well, it's a thing, isn't it? Because Ellis Platten away days.
Yeah.
He loves Becchio, and he really wants to get him on shirt shopping.
That'd be great.
But he just keeps trying to find a way to get hold of him, but it's just sort of our generation, isn't it? It's just
we loved him.
We signed a player from South America when we were in the trenches of the worst, almost of some of the worst times in Leeds history. We signed a South American who was good as well.
Where did he come from? And why was he playing for Leeds? You could almost, if it was kind of the Bielsa year, you could kind of imagine a player like that. But the fact that we were going different managers every week, Simon Grayson era, and you signed an Argentinian striker from Spain or wherever we were playing before. What?
I actually don't know where he was playing before.
Not actually.
Probably put it on the screen in the.
Yeah, I'll let you find
in the
out.
edit. If I remember.
It's wild, isn't it? It's wild.
Yeah,
I just loved him. But Beckford was close because he scored some brilliant goals, especially the one against Man United.
Yeah,
and he won the penalty against Tottenham, didn't he? Which definitely wasn't a dive.
Do you know what? Everybody, because like I said before, we didn't really have sort of like Sky Sports and stuff growing up, and then even the EFL anyway wasn't really on TV much. And I remember really liking Luke Varney, even though now I look back and everybody hated him because he chipped the goalkeeper against Spurs in the FA Cup in that game that I saw, and that was like one of the first times I'd actually seen him play, and he dinked the goalkeeper, and I was like, Jesus, this guy's good. Because I think there's a still of Gareth Bale being in like the back of the shot like this. as Luke Varney's chipping the goalkeeper, and I'm like, oh my God.
And this is what we had to live off. Memories just like that, just like big games. I remember Sommer. Imagine he didn't have them injury problems.
David Sommer,
What a player he was. Just always injured, wasn't he? But his goal record was brilliant. He scored 1 in 2 when he played for Leeds.
Yeah, these were the things we had to cling on to.
Yeah, these are the guys that were our legends growing up.
So that's the team for us and our generation. That is sort of the best team, one of the best teams that we could pick, really. But like I said before, don't get at him in the comments, people, because it's his favorite team and it's about memories and this will probably resonate with people who are around mine and Lockie's age of like 25, 26, and maybe a bit older and maybe a bit younger as well. But I do take some feedback from the comments, and somebody said that they'd like to know who you think would captain this side, first of all.
Ooh, there's a lot in there. It depends, because like, what age are they? Because you've got James Milner in there, you've got Pablo Hernandez, Woodgate, Casanova.
Probably have to be the age when they were playing for Leeds, I guess.
All right, I'll go Woodgate.
Right. Yeah.
Experience, Champions League experience,
Good to have a central defender as captain as well, because they can see the whole pitch and the whole game unfolding in front of them. And obviously you're the manager of this team, but who's your favourite manager from your sort of lifetime? I can probably guess who it might be, but...
You know what, right? It is Marcelo Bielsa. And I say it's not even close. It isn't. And it is my Bielsa. Like, he makes me fall in love with football again. I fell out of love with football and he made me love it again. And watching that Leeds team was some of the best, especially during lockdown when it was quite difficult, at times when we could watch Leeds every weekend. It was a joy, and that made you feel a lot better. That first game against Stoke, first ever game, Bielsa, I was there, and I'm watching this going, we're quite good here. Yeah. And when was the last time we were that good? And it just made you feel good to be Leeds again.
The thing is, even though we've got so many trophies and stuff in our history, it's hard to say that we've ever played football as entertaining as that.
No.
Ever.
No, exactly. It was unheard of and unseen of from us. We had good players, good individuals, and that's why I want to shout out Simon Grayson, because again, us growing up, there's a good period for Simon Grayson for Leeds where, we had the likes of Becchio, the Moats and all these young lads coming through.
Yeah.
Byram, Taylor, all these young players, and Grayson did a great job with him, and we were a very good team when we got promoted. Very good team, and he was part of that, and I have good memories from Simon Grayson. I really do.
Yeah.
But in between them two was a bit wild. But Bielsa was the levels. The memories he gave us were just the best. Some of the things that literally live with forever, because even the man himself was he was perfect for Leeds, I think.
Yeah.
The timing was perfect. He was perfect for him, and I just wish to be honest, I wish it could still be happening, but look, I like Daniel Farke. It's going well at the moment, but I wish there was a world where we didn't get relegated and Bielsa was still here and we still got Rafinha and we're challenging the top six. But it didn't work out like that, did it?
Again, we've come full circle back to what could have been.
Yeah. Oh well, that's what we are. Could have been FC, aren't we? We literally are. We are. That's what we are. But yeah, it's got to be Bielsa on it.
So how's this team playing? Is it going to be like a Bielsa style, or is it a little bit more conservative, or?
Oh, it's hard because Casanova wasn't great in possession, was he?
No, that's it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because obviously some of those players probably would have done well in a Bielsa system. Like James Milner probably would have been willing to learn and up and down, and he would have had the fitness for it, probably fitter than anybody else. But then, like you say, certain players like a Patrick Casanova, you maybe see struggling a little bit. So it's a difficult balance.
But then in midfield, you've got Smith, who's great with the ball. Rudy Austin he's a defensive player, but can also get forward with it. But then the front four there, I think it's a matter of, a team that can soak up pressure. Keep Becchio up top. Don't let him come back. He stays right up there, last man every time. And then soak up that pressure. Get the ball to one of the front three. Snodgrass, Pablo, and Raf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let them play like we do now with Somerville.
Yeah, because they can create things without much coaching at all, really, just because they're so good with the ball. Imagine Pablo and Rafinha getting to play together more.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they didn't really get the chance to because Pablo was kind of past it by then. But, like, bloody hell, that would have been good.
For me, oh, God, imagine, geez. That is weird thinking about that. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? But what I like about this team is there's a lot of different types of goals. So you've got Snodgrass on one wing who can cross it, crossing goals. Becchio's getting on end of 30 of them a season.
Snodgrass was not bad at free kicks either, and obviously so is Rafinha. So
we've got set pieces for days. Pablo Hernandez can take a free kick.
Yeah,
you got Pablo Hernandez pinging it around in the middle. Rafinha 1v1 taking men on, and then you've got the poacher and Becchio, and then you've got goals from midfield in Smith. So there's a lot of goals. There's a lot of defending set pieces. Brilliant. You got Woodgate and Casanova.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I mean? No one's winning
Get
that.
some headers clear, and then you've got Paul Robinson coming out and claiming balls as well. So
booting it long for Becky.
And if you need to play route, route one, Paul Robinson can absolutely tonk a ball long, and Becchio can win the flick on for Snodgrass and Rafinha running beyond him. So yeah, lovely.
Yeah, I think it works. I think you'll have to maybe work on the centre backs a little bit in terms of playing out, but the rest of it, it's got everything. There's loads of goals you can score from different. You soak up pressure, whether you want to keep possession, counter. Yeah, give it to Rafinha if it's going wrong. You know what I mean?
Or Pablo or Snodgrass. So that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
And then you've got Milner bombing up one side or Byron bombing up other. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great team.
That's great. Yeah. Lovely to see. And like I said, these are Lockie's memories.
Yes.
And Lockie's favourite players.
Yes. This is not the best Leeds team of all time by any means of the imagination. Joe's team would destroy this one, but I like this one.
It's about your personal connections, isn't it? And that's what people have said in the comments as well, to be fair, that they enjoyed how it's your sort of like your personal reflection and shows your journey as a Leeds United fan, as well as who the actual players are you've picked. So yeah, fantastic, Lockie. Thank you very much for joining me. Like I said at the beginning, guys, make sure you hit that big red button, and also go and check out Lockie's channel as well. He does some fantastic work over there. That will be linked in the title and in the description as well. But yes, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next time. We got through the whole thing without anything like that, and then I accidentally said that. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately.